You're listening to Data Center Therapy. Please take a number, and an engineer will be right with you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Data Center Therapy. I am your host, Matt Yeti. I'm joined by my co-host once again, Mr. Matt Cozzolino. Matt, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How's everyone else doing?
Really, really well, and especially well because for the second episode in a row, we're joined by our own Mr. Alec Taylor, and I think that qualifies as a streak.
Ooh, yay!
Right? It is. It is.
Alec, how are you?
I'm doing well. Matt's how is the Matt cluster today?
I think I was okay before you turned your webcam on. To be quite honest with
Really,
you, the
yeah.
glare.
Well, I don't
think
have
that's
hair
what
and
Terry
makeup
going
hasn't shown up yet. So, and the hair part goes real fast. So,
Yeah, that's easy. Well, next time let's do some warm up with the webcam first. I mean, the shock it almost threw me off my script. We were all fine on the audio, and then the video test came in with no warning.
It's very bad. Well, again, I've been told you have a face for podcasts.
Yeah,
and I don't like to brag, but I have been told that, and so here I am.
Even Howard Stern has listeners, right? And it's not because of his face.
Even Howard Stern has listeners. Fortunately, we don't have to put our podcast subscribers through that. They will just hear my Morgan Freeman-like voice.
I do have to call back Sirius XM after this and talk numbers, but we'll get to that. Anyway,
when do we get to syndicate ourselves?
We're really happy that you're joining and listening to us today. We've got a very exciting episode coming up because some very exciting events coming up. Make sure to listen closely throughout the whole episode because we will be making a couple of little announcements that you want to pay attention for. But overall, we're going to be talking about VMworld 2019 in this episode, and especially why we have Alec here, because one thing that Alec is well known for, outside of starting Ivoxy Consulting, is the VMworld Redux. Redo or Redux, Alec?
We call it the Redux. I think the French would call it a redo, but we're going to go with Redux. Redux.
Both work. Yes. And so would you call this the Predux?
Oh, funny. Yes, I like that. This is
Yeti's going to start doing stand-up.
And it is official, the Predux.
Okay, yeah. So we kind of wanted to talk about hopes and dreams more, maybe some expectations too, and those might be vastly opposed to each other. But Alec, talk to me about what VMworld is for those who might never have been or aren't really aware, and when it is, where it is, things like that.
Right. So VMworld, gosh, I think this is 2019, the 15th or the 16th year in a row that VMware has done their yearly conference. They do two of them. They do one at the end of August every year here in the U.S. on the West Coast. The very first one was in San Diego. A little bit of trivia. But recently they've been flip-flopping. For a few years they'll have it in Vegas, and then for a few years in San Francisco. This year they are back in San Francisco, from what I hear, for at least the next 3 VMworlds. Previously it was in Las Vegas. There's also, I think starting November 4th, there is a VMworld Europe that is always done in beautiful Barcelona, Spain, which I think next year that's the one we should go to.
I'm down for that.
We can carpool.
Ivoxy Europe.
Yeah, we'll carpool, save some money. There's a tunnel,
ferry
I
for
think.
us, right?
Yeah, there's a ferry.
Yeah,
you can get over there. And so it's 4 days long. This year it's August 25th through the 29th. It's always at Moscone Center when they do it in San Francisco. And they cover, this is the big announcement time. So here is our vision for 2020, new product announcements. Sometimes there's acquisitions that are announced at VMworld that we don't hear about before. They've got an expo hall where lots and lots of technology partners that work with VMware do demos. They make product announcements. There are fun events to do. So VMworld is well known for keeping the local bars very busy after hours, sometimes even during hours. So there's a lot of fun things to do. They've got a
hands-on labs, right?
Hands-on
That's
labs,
become a real big
huge.
thing.
Yes. And the sessions. So the real draw, certainly hearing the keynotes in the morning, is where we learn a lot of strategic things from VMware's leadership team and their partners' leadership teams. And but the labs and the sessions, the breakout sessions, are what most folks attend VMworld for. So you can get in a room with the folks who develop these technologies and products, subject matter experts, and they'll do deep dives into different technologies, and you can do Q&A with them. And so that's the big reason that I like to go, is hearing things from, the folks who are making all of this stuff happen with VMware.
So the good news about VMworld, as in if you didn't make it, can't go, missed out on some of your sessions because they were filled up too early, VMware posts those for everyone gratis at some point at the conclusion of the conference.
Yes.
Isn't that right? They've done that in years past.
They do. So back in the day, if you did not attend VMworld, there was a charge. I want to say it was something like $795 for a virtual pass to get access to the content catalog, so all the sessions, so PDF versions of the presentations and videos. Well, a few years ago, VMware stopped charging for that content, and so I don't know if there's an official timeline between when the session ends and when it's available on YouTube, but VMware is publishing. They publish all of those sessions. They have professional video recording folks in the sessions recording high-def videos of the session. So if you can't make VMworld, definitely come to our Redux, where we're going to talk about our spin on what happened at VMworld in a condensed format. But also those videos are available on YouTube. So if you just go on the inner tubes, go to YouTube and search for VMworld 2019. Again, at some point after VMworld has concluded, you can get access to all those session videos.
So, since last VMworld, there's been a number of acquisitions that VMware has made. And with any larger company, mature company, where their magic sauce has been developed and matured and tweaked and revised, a lot of times the big movers are no longer developed completely internally, and they're kind of done via acquisition and integration.
Right.
And VMware is no different, and they've acquired quite a few companies since last year's 2018 VMworld, and they've made it publicly known that they're looking to, well, I think the word is reabsorb Pivotal, right? Because that spun out of a EMC/VMware project in the first place, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Cloud Foundry. That's their most well-known product, is the Cloud Foundry framework for developing applications across multiple cloud platforms. But what are some of those other acquisitions, Alex? And do you rate those as potentially folding in or being relevant at VMworld?
That hopefully the Pivotal announcement, which I think yesterday is when it hit the news that VMware had announced their intent to acquire Pivotal, which kind of makes sense. To get the Cloud Foundry and Pivotal Container Service back under the VMware umbrella. So looking forward to hearing where that's going. Certainly anybody who owned Pivotal stock, I heard their stock jumped. It was like 60%.
Yeah, 60,
on the announcement.
70%, it was up there.
Yeah, so we really need to get in the stock game, guys, and stop just talking about this and start making big money off of stock speculation.
So we can...
some other announcements or other acquisitions that happened in between last VMworld and now. A company called AetherPal that makes remote control software for PCs and phones. Remotely control a PC, phone. I would assume a tablet would also be supported from anywhere that you have IP connectivity. That was the acquisition was done in February of this year. That might be something that gets rolled into Horizon Virtual Desktop.
Yeah. It seems like they've really been beefing up the help desk metrics and monitoring of their EUC.
Yes. Or it's really AirWatch is lumped in there now, so we'll just call that part of the EUC suite.
Right.
So kind of a tactical acquisition. I have not seen the AetherPal technology, but it must be pretty darn good remote control software for them to make an acquisition instead of using what they currently have, as there is a remote device management functionality cooked into AirWatch.
Do you see that sitting as a device management or like to replace Blast or something?
That's a good question. I would think, if I had to bet, that it would be a remote management solution rather than something related to Blast, but it could be both. Hey, look, you can connect into your EUC environment and get access to your mobile device or PC from anywhere. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you don't believe it surreptitiously installs a web server in order to share your screen by any chance? Like
who would do that? That is like the worst idea, Matt. Horrible idea.
It's probably just going to route it through the
after I
NSA.
start beating the drum on this Zoom thing really is cool. It's easy. I've struggled with every single video conferencing product. It's 2019, and I you know what? Nobody else has been able to do it. VMworld, that's what I want for VMworld 2019.
Yeah.
Announce a real WebEx competitor or the like. I say WebEx like I say Kleenex versus tissue. It's kind of the brand of the product, but any of them.
Correct.
Please.
I'm with you there. We can never have too good.
Without the rootkit this time.
Right, without the rootkit. My gosh. The shortcuts. I mean, Matt, you develop Yeti, mobile applications for iOS, and some folks just take the lazy way out.
Yeah, like those people who just continue to write in Objective-C when Apple wants to push everyone to Swift. What a bunch of slugs they are.
Right? Right? And hopefully some of them are listening. We're talking to you. Right? Get off of Objective-C. It's been forever. I'm surprised Apple still supports it.
It's work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Alex. So that is, if that's not the lazy man's anthem, I don't know what is.
Exactly. And that's a definition of what it means to be in IT. Right? Try to outsmart the system so you have more time to hang out and listen to podcasts. So at any rate, so AetherPal they acquired in February of this year. In May of this year, they acquired Bitnami, which is a multi-cloud container management platform. So I don't know if that will get integrated into Pivotal. I don't know how many multi-cloud container management things they need. But clearly they saw something in Bitnami that was unique that had them pull their wallet out and make that acquisition. In June of this year, VMware acquired AVI Networks, or AV Networks, AVI Networks, that makes cloud-based load balancers and kind of like application delivery, kind of like an F5 load balancer as a service type thing for managing access to applications that are cloud-based. Mm-hmm. So cloud-based load balancers. None of these technologies that we're talking about have to my knowledge, any of us at Ivoxy have used. And the first time I heard about these platforms was the acquisition. They were not on my radar before. Probably because these are smaller companies, but clearly had good intellectual property. In July of this year, they acquired a company called Bitfusion. And Bitfusion makes software to virtualize and share GPU resources. So whether that's rendering or intense floating point computational work that someone may be doing in the cloud. I assume there might be an on-prem offering as well, but how to share and virtualize single GPU resources across multiple use cases and environments.
Well, and that could be even more relevant given the recent announcement, as in this week, of I don't think the availability, but the announcement, right, of vSphere 6.7 Update 3.
Yes.
Which now supports multiple NVIDIA GPUs in the same server. Is that?
That is correct.
Right.
So now we can.
I gotta think that folds it in because that was a big density bottleneck. In general purpose computing we've seen with VMware. It used to be RAM was still so prohibitively expensive that you can cram 96 gigs of RAM, 128 maybe to your server, but that would be a wall that you'd hit with your VMs. And now that you can get 3 terabytes of RAM or whatever more into your servers, that density problem has kind of gone away, except if you're talking about VDI.
Yes.
And GPU accelerated VDI, which obviously is a higher tier class of VDI, but still one that we see out there an awful lot. I would say we design and deploy and help our customers manage more GPU accelerated VDI than non. Would you say that's the case, Alec?
Yes, and it's our suggestion if you're going to virtualize a desktop. Certainly Windows 10, that's very graphics intensive. Even just doing basic things. We're not talking 3D rendering or video or multimedia. We are just talking delivering basic Windows 10 desktops, especially if you're doing large resolution, especially if you're doing multi-monitor. We strongly recommend offloading graphics to a physical GPU, which tends to be the NVIDIA Tesla family of cards, because the density. Well, never mind. There's the density that you will get, right? You're not using server CPU to do GPU duties, but the performance that the users get, right? They're used to a physical system where you click the start button and boom, the menu pops up. It's not like the outline pops up, then it color fills, and then you see the menu content. And those are the kind of things that can happen if you're not using GPU acceleration. So we'll see where this Bitfusion acquisition goes, but acquisitions often tell us about the future strategy of a business, and I'm interested to hear Pat Gelsinger talk about how these acquisitions are going to be integrated into VMware's portfolio.
So can we talk about a couple things that we each want, maybe hopes and dreams, realistic or not, that we want out of VMworld? And I don't even know if this necessarily needs to be a VMworld. I want out of VMware, and VMworld's an opportunity for them to drop it. I think I don't know if it's safe to say, but it wouldn't be a shock if they came around the corner with vSphere 7.0 or something. They have leveraged VMworld often to announce the next release, and whether that shows up in September, November, or January is anybody's guess. But it wouldn't surprise me if they announce what the next major release of vSphere will be, is going to be.
And they typically do. So sometimes it's a whole new release. Hey, we're going from 6.7 to 6.8. But usually there is at least a dot release announcement that is made. That's been their cadence for the last several years. Sometimes that code is not available until the following year, but they at least make the release announcement, and then we get our hands on the bits sometime later. So certainly that is reasonable to hope and expect that we get a new vSphere release.
Well, I'm also seeing a lot of cloud. I don't know if defense is the right word, but I want to say cloud defense. They're hedging against the migration to the cloud to make it to maintain relevancy, right? And because they have the number one hypervisor product out there. I mean, bar none. It's the most supported. It's feature rich. They're ahead of the curve, some months, if not years, ahead of competitors in a lot of ways. But as a lot of people play the good enough, which I am not a subscriber to, that other hypervisors that you can check the good enough box. Personally, I still feel like there are some things whereas feature boxes might be checked by competitors. Yeah, try that in the real world and see how really well it does work, and you find out on your own, sometimes the hard way. But I do feel like a lot of the cloud stuff is VMware making sure that people who are determined to go with containers where they fit, and even sometimes people who push them where they don't fit, of which there are many cases, and we've gotten into in past episodes, and we'll talk about in future episodes, because Mr. Cozzolino and I are not done with that bout just yet. But one thing I want, and I will take them to the mat on this, is they need a better Azure story, VMware. And I know that's kind of weird because Azure, Hyper-V, competing product. Right now, VMware on Azure is done through a partner of Microsoft's, and in the FAQs, the fine print, you are having your own single tenant dedicated hardware to run vSphere on. Well, that doesn't scream cloud scale to me. I can't consume that in cloud metrics. It's more of it's OpEx, but you're talking at CapEx scale, and it's not that much different than just running your own vSphere environment in a data center.
To play devil's advocate for that, you don't have to go procure hardware. You just say, I want more, and they deal with it, right?
I mean, I'm not saying it's completely useless, but with all of the cloud scale and consumption and all of this, there's ramp up time, there's commitment. It's not just consume and then pay.
The one I see as being super beneficial about that is that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to convert it to an EC2 instance. You don't have to convert it to an Azure instance. You can just, I want to run my VM compute on Azure. I want to run my VMware compute on AWS, and you can just push your workloads up there, right?
100%, yes, but I want the correct. That's the whole thing about cloud mobility, lift and shift is not having to do that conversion and keeping it native. That's great, but I don't want to have to commit to 3 massive ESXi hosts and the build that goes with it. I want you to say, here's a hypervisor. Let's carve you out a little, tenant in it, and then just move to it. And I don't need to worry about the hardware underneath it. I feel like that is the next logical step. I'm waiting for them to do it. Now, Matt, you're more well-versed in the AWS side of things. I know it's farther along with Amazon Cloud Services, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 things I'd seen there. One, like when I was looking at the AWS, VMware Cloud on AWS, is to get your data up there, you have to spin up those boxes, and you're paying for those 3 full hosts anyway. I think it sounds like what you're saying is you want some sort of like seed box, right? I want to be able to just land some seed data there so that I can have a small presence, a small somewhere to just land some data and not necessarily run some compute. And then when I want to spin stuff up, I can, build my 3 hosts and bring those online and start moving workloads onto that. I
want to pay on demand. Exactly. I don't want to have to say I'm paying for 3 hosts for the next year or 2 or 3
years. Now
I
need to run stuff up there to make it, get my ROI on it or something. I did see just the other day, it looked like the same kind of thing Azure is doing, but VMware on Google Cloud also through a third-party service. I saw that just released by VMware or posted on their blog.
Yeah, it feels very much like that aforementioned checkbox. Yes, we do it.
Me too.
You look under the covers, you're like, ooh, boy, not yet. But I guess that's my wish list. I want them to be more of a first-class citizen on the Azure side. Given that that's my focus from an Ivoxy and my customer responsibility is, hey, let's talk about Azure and where it may or may not fit. A vast majority of our customers are obviously VMware, best of breed, and I want to be able to talk to them and give them real options. And right now, I feel like unless there are some very niche cases, specific, it's not a wide brush that I can offer our customers right now, and I want to see development there. How about you, Alec? Do you have any wish lists other than a liberal bar tab?
A liberal bar tab, right? That's definitely going to happen. So that's not up for debate.
Find out. He'll buy you a drink.
We spend a lot of time talking about NSX, software-defined networking, software-defined wide area networking, the microsegmentation functionality. I am looking to hear more on what that story looks like in the next year, right? With NSXT 2.4, with 2.4.2 being the latest available version, and the imminent demise of the VMware-only version of NSXV that goes away in January of 2021, we now have the ability to extend microsegmentation, and nifty layer 2, layer 3 can be extended into Azure and into AWS. I'm looking to hear more about that integration. And
I want to see that product mature some more.
Yeah.
Because it's really great. T is so much nicer than V, but it's still a little rough around the edges.
And that's a funny pun because of the edge transport functionality built into NSX. Literally, it's a great pun you made. Rough around the edges. I like what you did there.
Planned on it. Planned it all out all morning.
I'm also hoping for no announcements when it comes to the interface or the platform service controller bit of vCenter. I want them to finally say, we're done messing with it, we're done mucking about, it's stable, we're going to use this paradigm going forward, because I think my neck is still sore from the PSC whiplash that we've gone through in the last 2 or 3 versions.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
looking
that.
forward to nothing to see here. We finally decided that the tech that we've accumulated from all of this mecking about with Flash, etc., is done.
I'm amazed at how long it's taken to get the HTML5 interface up and running and being able to be deployed and actually usable. Like the Horizon interface, hearing some of the other guys talking about Horizon, how that's still all
Still
Flash.
Flash.
I mean, good lord.
Well, you know what's funny, and I'll go to Alec's point about how I have mobile app development. The server side API stuff, the logic, that's the fun stuff. That I won't say easy, but it's the fun stuff. When I have to then present something to the user, um, one, I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not I'm not an artist or fluent in design. I'm very functional, right? Google's a company of engineers, not designers, and while their products may be functional, they're made by engineers, kind of for engineers, and you can feel that. But UI, man, it's for me, it's the least fun. I'm not saying that VMware is going through this, but it definitely is tough because there are so many, there's so many clients you have to deal with, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of event handling with UI that is just not fun to do, and it's very difficult. So I guess I'm with you, Matt, that it is surprising. At the same time, a company that size, you're like, come on, guys, get it
right,
together.
exactly.
But, yep. Speaking of events, one of the sessions, I'm not going to be at VMworld, but I will be picking up this video after the fact. It's called If This Then That for vSphere, the Power of Event-Driven Automation. That I want to check out because the person who wrote the description for the session itself said, hey, you know how you can do event-driven stuff for your home automation? And Matt, you and I have talked about this a little bit in a previous podcast, but how about that for your home lab or for your environment? Event-driven automation in your vSphere environment. We've all talked about Terraform and infrastructure as code, but how about let's have a self-healing or reactive environment based on conditions, and I'm excited to see what that session brings.
Yeah, that's automation is something that we talk about quite a bit and talk about more and more and more with our customers for all the obvious reasons. Let's automate the stuff that isn't fun. Let's standardize it so it's always done right every time, no human error. Let's do things faster. The reason people like to go to the cloud isn't because it is the cloud. 2 key reasons are it is immediately available. I can automate everything. I have elasticity for days. I only pay for what I use. Granted, we'll pay a premium. And many times, folks will pay less to consume Amazon services, Azure services, when you're local to those platforms rather than dragging it across a VPN connection or over the internet. Microsoft and Amazon will charge more for accessing data remotely than if you're local. And speaking of the cloud, something that came out, we were talking about 6.7 Update 3, cloud native storage for Docker containers, Kubernetes. So now vSphere can present persistent storage to cloud native applications, even though on the back end, it's kind of talking Docker on the front end, but storing that in VMDKs on data stores on the back end and adding a virtualization layer for how that storage is presented to Docker containers, making it easy to scale and migrate. And
you can do all that fun VMware stuff
Yeah.
like snapshots, etc.,
Yes,
change
correct.
block tracking.
Mhm.
Cozolino, do you like the sounds of that? Is this basically a replacement for your current one of the solutions where it's like an NFS share for all of your persistent data stores for your containers?
So it's funny you bring that up. That's one of the things I'm
Oh,
actually working on right now is I've got a customer with so many ESX hosts, and I'm like, I want to break some layer 3 domains in there, and how am I going to present storage, not even for Docker containers, but just for the ESX environment? How do I present that across all of these layer 3 domains when I've only got a handful of storage arrays and I've got 100 ESX servers, right? So I'm clicking through the VMware validated designs, looking at how how they're recommending you do that. So presenting storage to containers, truly, I'm kind of like in the what is it? VMware's vSAN. I'm liking the vSAN thing a lot more because I'm not tied to that storage array anymore. It's weird, but it seems like it might be the way.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like a lot of things when it comes to cloud and hyper-converged, right? They're not the same thing, but we feel like we hear those terms a lot. I feel like in a lot of ways they're cool tech solutions still waiting for the problem or problems to arise to really say like, yes, this is where you can really take advantage of these new technologies. So like you're experiencing there's vSAN's been around for a few years now, but now you're, okay, well, here's an emerging problem where this vSAN might be well placed to help solve that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, VMworld, it's more than just, geek nerd talk. Well, first of all, if you want to check out all of the stuff we've talked about in this episode, go to our VMworld 19 page. Go to ivoxy.com/VMworld19. All the links that we've talked about, sessions, information about dinners, parties, things like that will be on there. And those dinners and parties, so how about this? Rubrik and AWS are having a party on Monday night, right?
With the Wu-Tang Clan.
The special guest, yes.
With the Wu-Tang Clan. That I cannot wait to see the pictures of a bunch of IT guys hanging out with the Wu-Tang Clan. Hey, honey, how was VMworld? Oh, it was pretty cool. Look here, honey. I got a picture with the Wu-Tang Clan.
Do you get
old dirty backup?
Bulletproof vest swag or something?
That's what Rubik should say. Get rid of your old dirty backup and come with us.
Yes, our platform is nothing to F with. I love it.
Oh.
Who picks like that is creative. And no one's going to be more surprised than the Wu-Tang Clan about who they're going to be hanging out with. And it'll be
right.
Like, ODB, what are your thoughts on infrastructure as a service? I want to listen in on that conversation and see how that goes. Yeah.
Lyrics as a service.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if that doesn't get you going, then on Wednesday night, there's VMworld Fest at the festival there, and their musical guest is I think I might have heard of these guys, but One Republic. I'm too old at this point.
I've heard that name before.
Young crew.
I've heard it somewhere before.
Yeah, Alec, are you a big fan? I think I saw a stack of CDs on your desk.
Out CDs, really? Yes, next to my 8-tracks and my cassettes.
Fine, 8-track, yeah.
Right. Yeah, One Republic is, a few years ago they had quite a few hits. Maybe their biggest was Apologize, and they've done some, tracks with Timbaland and other artists. So One Republic was kind of one of those 2012, 2009, 2012 popular bands, and now you can see them at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, which is over by Moscone Center.
I really thought I was putting you on the spot there, and I would have respected you so much more had you said, I have no idea who they are, Matt. But now I'm a little frightened.
Right. Well, if it was Avril Lavigne, I mean, I could have gone on for
I know that
hours
name too.
talking about her. So maybe next year.
And of course, we don't have any aging rock stars or pop sensations, but we do have Alec Taylor.
Right.
And on Tuesday night, Ivoxy's holding a dinner. So talk about headline right there.
Right.
There you go.
And I may or may not be doing a musical number, so that'll have to be the reason that you come by and join us for dinner. Is
how does one get an invite to that, Alec?
Well, that's funny that you should ask. So if any of our listeners are going to be at VMworld and would like to join us on Tuesday night for dinner, shoot us an email at podcast@ivoxy.com. Just basic contact info. And we will add you to the list, send you an email confirmation, and we'll see you there at dinner. We're having it at Coxcomb, and it's going to be fantastic food, and get to meet some other folks that are in the industry, and chat and talk about how the conference is going. Something that we do every year is a customer appreciation dinner. They're a lot of fun, and who knows what trouble we'll go in and get in after that.
It looks like that restaurant's run by Chef Cosentino. Is that a
It's my cousin.
Into Cosolino.
Yeah, it's my cousin.
It's my cousin.
He's won Top Chef Masters, which, I mean, that catches my eye. My wife and I are both Top Chef big time fans. So
Oh crap, he's a
that's
real
cool to
person?
see. So again, go to ivoxy.com/VMworld19 to learn more and register, or at the aforementioned email address, podcast@ivoxy.com that Alec mentioned. Again, if you're not able to make VMworld, but still want to kind of get that 5 days of information, announcements, sessions distilled down into a 4-hour event with really, really good food, you definitely have to go to our Redux/Redo event. I like Redo. I'm half French. And normally I don't advertise that.
That explains a lot of things, Matt.
Normally I don't identify
Half
it.
French.
Yes,
Mhm.
I know. We.
But, I mean,
c'est vrai. Normally I don't advertise that, but I'm gonna go. I like Redo anyway.
Okay.
It is happening in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, Spokane, Portland, and Bozeman. I mean, we're hitting the PNW.
We are.
In effect.
We are.
Um,
Maybe we'll
and
have the
Alec
Wu-Tang
has-
Clan tour with us.
I was
Maybe
gonna say
we'll
that.
hit them up. We'll go drop by the Rubric AWS party and be like, ODB, what do you think about taking this on the road, right? VMworld Redo with special guests, the Wu-Tang Clan.
I want to hear him say hello, Bozeman.
Hello.
That's all I want to hear. That's all I want to hear. And that's no offense to Bozeman, trust me.
Right. We're gonna have to
I just
we're
wanna
gonna have to
hear
run
it.
this by the marketing team, but I'm sure it's
Right,
only money
right.
that we need. We can make that happen.
The thing to know about the Redux event is even though we have it in 6 cities, it's by far our most attended and sought after event that Ivoxy does. And so spots fill up really fast. So we're giving you podcast listeners to Data Center Therapy and subscribers a kind of a head start on getting signed up for one of those sessions. So you definitely want to email us at podcast@ivoxy.com to reserve your spot like yesterday.
Yeah, they fill up really quickly. So
Yep. Do you gentlemen have anything else to add? I know we're on our longest podcast yet. Kind of want to wrap it up, give everybody time back to park, leave the parking garage and go to their meetings now that they've listened to us during their commute.
no, I don't have anything else. I think that was a really thorough overview of our hopes, wishes, dreams, desires, and predictions for VMworld 2019. And here in a couple of weeks, we'll know just exactly what took place there. And as tradition, I am riding a motorcycle down to San Francisco, taking the long way through Southern California and back up the coast. So there will be any motorcycle riders out there who are feeling lonely and you're going to ride down. Hit us up at podcast@ivoxy.com if you want to join the motorcycle gang posse making the long trip down to San Francisco. I
want to see you holding that banner, Alec, while on.
Both
given
hands.
your history
Both
of
hands while you're doing six.
mishaps.
That's not unsafe at all. I think
don't
that's
know.
a perfectly sound idea to do that. And
I'm
then,
gonna have to get the editor to scrub that out of here.
and then that's
out of
where
this
people
episode.
will
I didn't
get
say
the Redux cancellation mails. He flew off his motorcycle somewhere in Southern Oregon. So
Still haven't found him yet.
Yeah.
Well, Alec, thank you for joining us,
Thank
Mr.
you, guys.
Cosley. It's always good to have you back on board as well.
Of course.
Thank you
Of
for
course.
joining us. Yes. If you haven't already, subscribe to Data Center Therapy on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Overcast. We are now on Spotify as well. Really anywhere quality podcasts are offered, ultimately. Again, that link is ivoxy.com/VMworld19 for all the links that we talked about here, all the information about the Ivoxy dinner, and of course the email, podcast@ivoxy.com if you're not already sick of hearing it. For Alec and Matt, I am Matt as well. Thanks again for listening to Data Center Therapy. Have a great day, everyone.